Good morning, good morning, good morning. Gonna do a meditation. It's 10:27 a.m. in the morning in Hawk Island, Montreal. Please, 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 if you make a million by selling stocks, futures, options, commodities, pork bellies, buying penny stocks, selling penny stocks, futures, options, puts on that Wall Street, please give 10% of every million profit you make today. Or if you did make a million profit yesterday, please give 10% as well. Or if you will make a million profit tomorrow buying, selling, trading stocks, futures, options, puts. Please give 10% of that 1 million to food security, women's sports leagues, LGBTQ youth services, and for environmental causes to plant, let's say, a tree for every tree that we cut down. Plant a tree for every tree that we cut down to plant another tree. As morning, rainy day in Hawk Island, Montreal, I am grateful, thankful that my rent is fully paid for October. It's October 20th. My electricity bill is fully paid, and I'm grateful, thankful that I'm utilizing this energy above my head, the light utilizing clean, zero pollution, zero emission energy above my head, thanks to and due to the fact that 63 hydroelectric dams were built across this province of Quebec. Why, with brains and muscle of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of Quebecers. Des Québécois comme moi, Quebecers like me and you, North Americans, Canadian North Americans, Quebecer in this province, La Belle Province, were built with brain and muscle 63 dams for me to utilize clean, zero pollution, zero emission energy that all of us in Quebec and five, even six states down south, Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, utilize clean, zero pollution, zero emission energy that are given from those 63 dams, which were built with brains and muscle, because it takes brains and muscle to build, maintain, and upgrade civilization. And I'm grateful, thankful that my rent is paid in full for this October. My electricity bill is also paid in full, so I'm grateful that I'm also utilizing clean, zero pollution energy to philosophize, meditate, do some artistic poetry and part comedy, part serious. Because I do like to use humor, and I think in times to use some humor and also be able to laugh at myself. Although my theories are of a serious nature, and my geopolitical analysis back in October 2019 was serious, and there are some serious dimensions, and also some dimensions that can be used and utilized with love and understanding and humor and comedy. And it is, of course, with solutions that we got to focus on. And my solution for myself have been in the past, a few years ago, been depressed and suicidal. I'm no longer depressed. I've conquered depression. I've conquered depression, and working out, training, and exercising has been, is, and will continue to be my medicine and therapy of choice, as I believe it is for many. I like to rock and roll a little bit, rap and rock and roll a bit. That's for sure, without a doubt. As an independent athlete, independent artist, independent activist, AAA artist, activist, athlete dependent, sometimes more athlete first or activist first or artist, athlete first in whatever order. That triple A artist, athlete, activist, a trinity of artist, activist adds other dimensions, a geopolitical analyst and theorist, the world's greatest living dancing millennial rainbow poet, a philosopher with some brain and some muscle, a student scholar of history, war, civilization, and a universal spiritual teaching student, because I don't know it all and I have many, many, many questions, as I'm here in Hokkaido, Montreal. It's 10:32 a.m. in the morning. Once again, please, if you make a million, buy, sell, trade stocks, futures, options, puts, commodities, pork bellies, penny stocks, $1 stocks, quarter stocks. If you do make a million, please give 10% for food security. For food security, first, because everybody gotta eat, even Wall Street. For everybody gotta eat, even Wall Street. For everybody gotta eat, even Wall Street. As prices have been increasing, when dealing with inflation during the COVID and shrinkflation, as a matter of fact. Although I'm grateful, thankful for this cup of coffee, I have to take a moment to see that my coffee that I've purchased 3 months ago on special, and a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago on special, has been reduced. So shrinkflation, shrinkflation, shrinkflation. And I got proof because I got the coffee here, and I put pictures on the Facebook and on social media. So it went from 925 grams to 900 grams. So 925 minus 900. Let's train the brain a bit, do some math. Train the brain, train the brain, train the brain, do some math. 925 minus 900 is 25 grams. So it was reduced via 25 grams. So basically, we lost a cup of coffee, or depending how many grams you put for every cup of coffee, it could be that 2 or 3 coffees. I would say 2 to 3 cups, depending on the size. And if you're making for just yourself cup of coffee, you put more. If you're making for 2, of course, or 3, you put more. But 25 grams is anywhere, for me, I'm speaking for my 25 grams for me would be about maybe 2 to 5, depending if it's the weekend or whatever. Maybe 3 to 5, 3 to 5, 3 to 6 even. Could you get 6 cup of coffee? Yeah, maybe. So that is 25 grams for me. So basically, like 3 days, three big scoops, something like that. We can weigh it. We can weigh it. I did not weigh it. If we could, we could. But just on some knowledge, some information, we could of course also speculate by using some mathematics about the effect of shrinkflation. Shrinkflation aside, and my economic, financial, commercial struggles aside, and living in the worst financial crisis of my adult life, myself personally, as millions of Canadians, and of course, I am open for business. I'm auctioning this black hoodie, black jeans, and the black socks, and the coffee mug. So make an offer if anybody watches this. Nobody's watching, but if somebody is watching so far and is in the means, and you hear my message, support the actions, 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 and know that I'm not perfect, far from it. Don't play it self-righteous. I do admit that at some things I am mediocre, at other things I am so-so, at some things I am average. While being average, mediocre, and so-so, at some things I am great, super, and excellent. At other things, such as my workouts, training, exercising, are great. My geopolitical analysis and theories are excellent. And of course, I am super at other things, such as rapping, underground rapper, rock and roll as an artist. I songwriter and writer, aspiring children's books writer, have written 3 children's books already, so I'm looking for a literary agent. I've contacted, knocked on doors. I've experienced many doors closed in the past, many disappointments, many disillusionments myself, and I say that during this COVID, Adrian H. Dragon died during COVID. Personally, there's nothing that I want to go back to pre-COVID times. I want to break the impasse for myself and for others, because I am for the greater good, although I do want to admit that I do want to afford more bacon than I am able to afford at the moment, more wine, because I love drinking wine from time to time, especially during the Sabbath, and a little bit of this and that. But I am generally for the greater good, and I do believe firmly, without any doubt, that my trinity of theories at this point in time are best for their implementation. The CIT, Citizen Integration Theory, Debt Refusion Theory, and Democratic Fusion Theory, that trinity of theories, which I'm going to discuss in depth, and of course, trinity of theories to be implemented via the fourth dimension, LOV, love, because my main message is to my willingly loving allies and armies: pledge your allegiance. Allegiance is this: with consent and hygiene, make love tonight. With consent and hygiene, make love tonight. With consent and hygiene, make love tonight. And while the whole duration that you watch my videos, with consent, mutual understanding and love, hug like the NFL plays quarters, 15 minutes each quarter. NHL and NBA play periods, 20 minutes each period. So you, no, NBA is quarters, right? Quarters. NHL, National Hockey League, is periods, 20 minutes. So hug 20 minutes while speaking, and then take a break, hug for another 20 minutes, and then hug for another 20 minutes. Hug like you never hugged before today with consent is the main message. Hug like you never hugged before with consent. Today is the main message. Hug like you never hugged before today with consent is the main message. That is the main principle, first and foremost message of everything that I'm going to discuss: philosophies, theories, art, poetry, XYZ. It's 10:37 a.m. in the morning here in Hawk Island, Montreal, buying, selling, trading stocks, And on the Wall Street, everybody got to eat. Please give 10% of every million profit which you make. 10% of a million is 100,000 divided by 4. Make it 25,000 for food security, 25,000 for women's sports leagues, 25,000 for LGBTQ services, and 25,000 for environmental causes such as to plant a tree. For every tree that we cut down, to plant a tree instead. We cut one tree, we put another tree. Plant a tree. For every tree we cut. Something on principles, on principles, on principles, like that. As a pro-labor universal revolutionary centrist, as a pro-labor universal revolutionary, pro-labor universal revolutionary centrist, which is completely integrated with my theories that I'm advocating for, especially here from Hawk Island, Montreal, Canada, coast to coast, and of course throughout, first and foremost, the collective North American civilization throughout North America. I firmly believe in them without a doubt. I've been writing them for many years now, and of course, what am calling is, of course, for us to move towards a post-COVID economic, social, financial, philosophical, commercial, political, and of course even spiritual and psychological world system for pleasure and purpose. That is my dream. My dream manifests or is embodied in the dancing goddess and the dragon empire. The dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom is the dragon kingdom is one with the dancing goddess empire, and vice versa. The dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom are one. This is my dream manifesting in everything I do and everything I do online, especially during COVID, as an independent philosopher, independent artist, independent activist, independent athlete, independent, a universal spiritual teaching student, a geopolitical analyst of geopolitics and everything that I did. As I say, I died during COVID. I am triple vaccinated. Thrice triple vaccinated. Please, please, please increase in hygiene in public, brothers and sisters. There are germs, bacteria, and microbes. There are germs, bacteria, and microbes, bacteria, and germs out there. So wash your hands, disinfect your hands with soap and water. Disinfect your hands with soap and water. Disinfect your hands with soap and water and hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizer. Wash and rub your hands when you go in the bank, when you go in a school, when you go in a mall, when you go in a grocery store, any domain which is not your private domain. Right here now, here, Adrian Hana Dragon is in the private office room, office and temple. No longer just a private citizen dragon. I am also sharing with the public, putting it in the public sphere. So there's a correlation, there's an intermixture between myself as a private citizen and the public. Because when we step outside, there's an added dimension of responsibility, duty, and obligation, and that duty, obligation, and responsibility is for the public. At the moment is public hygiene. The duty, responsibility, and obligation is the public hygiene, is the duty, obligation, and responsibility is the public hygiene, is the duty, responsibility, and obligation. That is the main responsibility at the moment. Public hygiene. To wash your hands in soap and water, hand sanitizer when you go in a domain which is not your private domain. Right here I'm in my underground domain, my room, office, and temple. Of course, I can turn everything off, close the blinds, get off social media, get off doing this work, get naked, start dancing naked on Tekashi 6ix9ine music, Madonna music, and Ye music. The price for a naked Adrian Hana Dragon androgynous dance is 1 hour for a million. With that million, of course, every million that I do, I'm first and foremost going to pay my debt, because I got $10,000 in debt to the RBC, Royal Bank of Canada. I owe $10,000. So the added interest, I pay the most interest on the debt as I ever paid. As many millions of Canadians as well who don't have fixed mortgages, who have other loans, business loans, commercial loans, or other loans, or of course credit cards, and of course credit lines. This fact for the Bank of Canada that hiked the interest rate by 1 full basis points, the highest in more than 22 years, and we're dealing Canada, USA, Britain, and Europe, Western world and beyond, North America, Euro, NATO member countries, Canada, US, and UK, United Kingdom, and of course Europe, we're dealing with higher inflation and highest food prices increasing in more than 40 years. We're dealing with the highest food price increase in more than 40 years. We're dealing with the highest food prices increasing in more than 40 years. I am calling, of course, on an act, on my act, of course, an action of goodness and kindness on the corporations, multi-billionaires, especially the corporations too, for this one time during the Halloween holiday for the children, to reduce it in half. The prices, I mean, on the goods, candies, chocolates, sweets. We did a one-time act of goodness and kindness this Halloween. Reduce it in half ASAP. Reduce it in half ASAP. Reduce it in half ASAP. Right, today maybe by 3 as it's October 20th. Write to the CEOs, allies and armies, They're on a Dragon Zero's message. Right, type please reduce. If I have before Halloween, next ASAP. It's usually the Halloween candies, goods, sweets. A lot of it is discarded as well, thrown to the garbage a few weeks thereafter, after Halloween, after the holiday, after the 31st of October. So if we can reduce it ASAP, I would love that. We can reduce it ASAP. So try to reduce it. Let's reduce it. Please, corporations, you know the names, which are the big ones, retailers, corporations, grocery stores, the big grocery store chains, the big retail chains, the big corporations producing, right? Please give half, make it half now. As usually, it's done the day after Halloween, right? It's reduced half price. Hey, we can do it now. Can we do it now? It'd be so selfish. And I'm not totally selfless. I'm not totally selfless. I try to stay balanced in the medium and for the greater good. I do want to afford that bottle of wine, which I saw. I said, wow, local wine from Quebec, du vin québécois avec des raisins du Québec, local de la belle province. I said, wow, that's a local wine. 28.65 though. It's 3 times the price for the wine from France, the wine from Italy, and the wine from Spain. So I bought the cheapest one. I bought the wine from Italy, which was 8.65, which only a third. It was 3 times more expensive. I said, oh, I wonder how it tastes and the difference in the taste. And I wanted to afford it, and I do want to afford it, and I want to afford to eat bacon, let's say, on every week, because it's been a few weeks I haven't had bacon. I bought it. I'm grateful, thankful though that I bought it in September. I found it half price. It was like, wow, bacon. I got bacon and I made myself some bacon. I'm grateful, thankful for that. So I'm grateful, thankful for that fact. Grateful, thankful for that fact. Grateful, thankful for that fact. Because I'm grateful, thankful that I got coffee, that I got food for today, and I got paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, fully paid my rent, fully paid my electricity bill, and I'm utilizing clean, zero pollution, zero emission energy to utilize to do this live stream, to do this philosophy, to do this art, to do everything that I do. I'm gonna work out hard, best workout independent athletes, challenging the athletes in the NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB, to try to do my workouts. That's a challenge. If not, give 1% of everything y'all made during COVID. That's my call. I'm calling all to the dream, which is the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, for the public-private partnership, which are the creation of the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions of the Dancing Goddess Army with the Dragon Army, to be for security and service and for pleasure and purpose. Because myself, I say I'm triple vaccinated, nothing that I want to go back to pre-COVID. I died during COVID. I'm being reborn, and I put in more intellectual, philosophical, artistic, physical, even artistic and philosophical work than all the leaders of the free world combined, of NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization member countries combined during COVID, while also marched more than the generals of NATO combined during COVID. That's my new CV. I've marched, steel toe boots, more than the generals of NATO combined during COVID, and I've also put in more intellectual, physical, artistic, philosophical, artistic, poetic, physical, philosophical, spiritual work than all the leaders of the NATO member countries combined during COVID, and also marched in steel toe boots more than all the generals of NATO combined during COVID. Well, I put in also more intellectual, physical, artistic, philosophical, and social, poetic, and artistic, and spiritual work than all the leaders of the free world combined during COVID. That is my new CV. While also I say I'm a piece of dust. I look But Mother Nature, the grandiosity of the temple of the goddess. In my spiritual teaching, spirituality, I do say the word goddess, G-O-D-D-S-S. Goddess, goddess, forgotten, still dances with the sun. To make greater all fruits, vegetables, and legumes, and even the grain that our brothers and sisters, farmers, harvest, for us to make up great or maintain civilization. Even this black coffee bean comes from a red berry, initially made from the black fertile earth, which contains the nutrients, the elements, the vitamins, the nutrients, the elements that, of course, are in the black fertile earth. With the water of the rain, is raining today, drought, 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 no longer. And of course, with the sun rays, the gold and the sun rays of the sun, the light fertilizing the black fertile earth with a combination of the water and the nutrients and the minerals and the vitamins within the black fertile earth with the golden sun rays of the sun, and the water produces, makes, and creates all fruits, all vegetables, all legumes, all the grains, wheat, barley, without exception. Even my favorite, the grapes. All the fruits. ALL without exception. All the fruits, all the vegetables, all the legumes, all the potatoes, the rutabagas, the bananas, the grapes, the cherries, the oranges, the apples, the avocados, the melons, all of them. All the fruits, all the vegetables, all the eggs are made, created, and produced by the dance of the goddess with her brother the sun. That's the motto of the dancing goddess army, which is my dream, part of my dancing goddess and dragon kingdom dream, to create the dancing goddess army, the DGA, the International Integrated Dance League, to be an integrated dance league, integrated all genders, all ages, all sexual orientations inclusive. That is my dream. For pleasure and purpose, to have this institution, the Dancing Goddess Army, integrated with all and in cooperation with all existing sports leagues and ecological environmental organizations and governments and corporations, integrated with and work with. Have the DGA, the Dancing Goddess Army, to be for pleasure and purpose, because dancing is my favorite sport. I love dancing. Love me some ballet, what's the problem? Love me some ballet, what's the problem? Love me some ballet, what's the problem? Dancing is my favorite sport. I love me some football, some hockey. Can't skate, can't break, but to be in collaboration. So my brothers, some say brothers in the patriarchal sports leagues, because let's face it, there's not even one women's sports leagues who makes even close economically, financially, commercially what the NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB make economically, financially, commercially. Myself, I've lost that money, that geld, that economic, financial, commercial continuance of contract or continuance of opportunity, continuance of work due to being LGBTQ. That's a fact. I didn't. Not to be bitter about it. It happens. It happens. Discrimination. I mean, don't think Colin Nasib is the only LGBTQ player in the patriarchal sports leagues now. There's one on each team, brothers and sisters of the NFL. There's one on each team, minimum one. On all the teams of the NFL, Colin Nasib is perhaps the bravest, craziest motherfucker to come on, motherfucker, on the motherfucking field, motherfuckers, to play, but he's not the only one. He's not the only one. It took so many decades, so many decades, so many. One player opened only last year, right, in the NFL. There's one on each team, and I love the game. I love the game. I could love the game. I could drill, put aside me being Rainbow Dragon and do some business and do some serious work. Because on that work, it can be a different time. Set a time for this, a time for that, a time for that. Like in the morning now, this week, this is my part three of this philosophy. Utilize the brains, the meditation, while later in the afternoon and in between I'm going to have lunch and I'm going to knock on some doors, write some emails for some more opportunities and collaboration, because I am open for business. I am open for business. I am open for business, and look for more opportunity to do XYZ collaboration, cooperation, which I'm calling all willingly loving, because it gotta come. Love is action is my philosophy, and the body is a temple for pleasure and purpose. The body is a temple for pleasure and purpose. The body is a temple for pleasure and purpose is my philosophy. And how do we invest in it? By working out, by training, and by exercising, first and foremost for me, and have been and will call for the mass financing of people to work out, to train, to exercise, because it has been, is, and will be my medicine and therapy of choice, as I believe it can be or is for many. Or is for many. Anyways, back to the myself being part of the LGBT community and who has faced discrimination and obstacles and hurdles and XYZ, and we gossip, man. That's why I call for the Global Dragon Union, the Global Dragon Union, the Global Dragon Union. A 21st Century Workers Alliance is yours truly, independent athlete, independent artist, independent activist, AAA plus other dimension, geopolitical analyst and theorist, universal spiritual teaching student. I don't know at all. There's so many questions I don't know. I got some brain and some muscle. I have some brain and some muscle. I do have my theories: CIT, citizen integration theory, debt refusion theory, and democratic fusion theory, which I call for the implementation via the fourth dimension. LOV, make love today and tonight with consent, is the main message, right? That's the main message. Make love today is the main message. That is the main message. As Adrian Hanna, dragon, androgynous, pansexual, founder of the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, which is my dream, which I'm calling all willing living to support in any way, shape, capacity, or form that I so choose to support this dream called dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom. Also the Global Dragon Union, which I believe a 21st century workers alliance, and to apply my 11 holy, sacred, and divine principles. One of it is to try to avoid gossip and slander, right? Sometimes it's better to address things directly, right? Because we feel, right? I have feelings. I get offended. I get moody, get upset. In some things, I admit I am mediocre at some things. I am average at some things. I'm so-so at other things. While being so-so average and mediocre at some things, I'm great, super, and excellent at other things. Dancing, world's greatest dancing, well mixed with poetry. I'm a great poet, great dancer, super philosopher, excellent geopolitical analyst and theorist. Can analyze geopolitical events and, of course, regions by region, civilization by civilization, and the interactions within the different regions, taking into considerations their cultural and demographic and financial and technological and military and historical relations with other member nations or regions within the interplay of civilizations, and the cultural approach and the spiritual, even religious approach to life, to XYZ factors. So geopolitical analysis, top, best, best, one of the best. As I've proven that in October 2019, when I've sounded the alarm back then in October 2019, after having analyzed geopolitical relations and geopolitical events of a major nature, such as the US-China trade war. That was a geopolitical event. The beginning of the US-China trade war in October 2018 was a major component of my analysis, geopolitical analysis, which began in October 2019, of which back then I've sounded the alarm. I said humanity, my brothers and sisters, humanity were again on a path towards another international conflagration. And so created, made, and designed my workout to go hand in hand with such an event, such a scenario, an international conflagration, aka World War III scenario. A World War III scenario. Back in October 2019, have made, created, and produced the General War Integrated Whole Body Training System, aka the Dragon Army workout. Okay, the 300 workout, of which I've successfully completed 300 sessions on September 29th of this year. I've successfully turned that A of my surname into a no. Dragon became dragon, dragon became dragon, dragon became dragon. But my geopolitical analysis was serious and is serious, a very serious component to it. Back in 2019, in October, I've analyzed the geopolitical situation and I've said humanity were again on the path towards another international conflagration. So created, made, and designed a workout to go hand in hand with it. The General War Integrated Whole Body Training System, which is the perfect symmetrical system that requires no equipment, increases general overall fitness. It increases general overall fitness. It increases general overall fitness. It increases general overall fitness. No equipment required, simple, effective, and efficient. Rules are simple. 4 main rules: 93 minutes to do 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 hawks. Holy, Sacred, and Divine Trinity: 100 push-ups, 100 hawks, 100 squats. For each push-ups, 100, squats, 100, hawks, 100. In whatever order. There's no prescribed order. There is the rules. 13 reps maximum per set are allowed. 3 minimum, anywhere in between 7, 6, 5, 9, 10, whatever the number is. And of course, 31 seconds minimum of marching or jogging or running or walking fast. Spacing between is required between those 13 and 3. They go together, those numbers. So you got 93 for how many minutes is allocated in total to do 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 hawks. 93 minutes. That's an hour and a half. Once you start the countdown, 93 minutes, there's no stop, no pause. You got to keep it in motion, keep it in motion, keep it in motion. You got to march or jog or run or walk fast pace. A minimum of 31 seconds in between sets. Four main rules, four main numbers. 93, 13 and 3, they go together, and 31. 31 is the seconds required of marching or jogging or running or walking, fast pacing between each sets. The sets, 13 reps maximum per set, 3 minimum anywhere in between. Those are the rules. I've completed successfully 300. I set out to do 300. Now I'm doing the post, a new cycle beginning. So I'm calling us to begin a new reset, new cycle, and integrate and of course implement my Trinity of theories. The CIT, Citizen Integration Theory, the Debt Refusion Theory, and the Democratic Fusion Theory. That Trinity of theory is to be implemented via LOV, love. And love is action. That's the fourth dimension. That's the fourth dimension. Yours truly, independent philosopher, artist with some brain and some muscle, calling all willingly loving governments, corporations, individual citizens, organizations, east, west, north, south, east, west, north, south. From this Hawk Island, Montreal. So back in October 2019, I've analyzed the situation and the geopolitical analysis, my geopolitical analysis. I've come to the conclusion that the world, humanity, is again on the path towards another international conflagration. Had taken major events into consideration, such as the US-China trade war, which began in 2018 with the Trump administration starting to impose tariffs on imports from China and importing the billions. There was three sets. I think first on a few hundred billion, then another few hundred billion, then another few hundred billion. China retaliated, vice versa, quit pro quo tariffs imposed, and the deterioration of Sino-American, Sino-Canadian, Sino-North American, and Sino-Western relations. When I say Sino, S-I-N-O, I refer to China, not just the current CCP state, but China, Sino as China as a civilizational complex. As again, one of my theories that China constitutes a civilizational complex with XYZ factors, and that's when if you want to sponsor, blah 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 blah, blah another commission, whatever, blah blah, another on just a top coffee on whatever topic XYZ for an hour, an in-depth analysis of XYZ. Please feel free. Please feel free. Please feel free. Make a deal. Make a deal. Gonna have a refill in a minute. So back in 2019, I've sounded the alarm. I've said humanity were again on the path towards another international conflagration. So created, made, and designed the workout to go hand in hand with my scenario, my geopolitical analysis. Back in 2019, October, taking into consideration the US-China trade war, the other events between China and Canada, the diplomatic crises, the deterioration of Sino-Canadian relations due to the arrest of Meng Wanzhou, aka Kathy Meng, the chief financial officer of Huawei and the daughter of the founder of Huawei, the biggest, who had overtaken many corporations in telecommunications to become the top corporation in telecommunications and smartphone equipment maker and internet infrastructure, Huawei. So she's the daughter of the founder and chief financial officer, was arrested, detained on an extradition treaty by the RCMP, on an extradition treaty and extradition treaty with the U.S. And recently, a few months ago, there was the exchange because after her detainment, there was the arrest in China of the two Michaels, Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig. Michael Spavor, Michael Kovrig, Michael Spavor, Michael Kovrig, two Canadian nationals. So a few months ago there was an exchange, unadmitted exchange, but it happened within the same day, so it kind of alludes without an open admission in the diplomatic sphere that this was an exchange. Nonetheless, those events, geopolitical events, were taken into consideration. Other events such as the continuing Islamic State terrorism, and of course other events such as the past events of the Pearl Harbor events. Pearl Harbor is an event on December 7, 1941, a surprise attack, were taken into consideration. I said October 2019, humanity, my conclusion came that we are again on a path towards an international conflagration, aka World War III. So created, made, and designed the General War Integrated Total Body Training System, aka the Dragon Army Workout, aka the 300 Workout. The General War Integrated Total Body Training System, aka the 300 Workout, aka the Dragon Army Workout. A simple, effective, and efficient workout training program. Looking for volunteers to build a Dragon Army app. Dragon Army app. You can see hundreds of videos, of workout videos, of your study working out, training, and exercising. Lost more than 77 pounds. The people's athlete. The people's athlete. Independent fitness captain, was also a philosopher, geopolitical analyst, and theorist. Then can rock and roll. Sometimes gonna rock and roll. We need rock and roll. We need art. We need humor. Part of art to maintain, and my call to hopefully attain harmony between civilization and nature via the DGA, DGA, DGA. Throw that DGA up. Dancing Goddess Army. That's what's up. The DGA, Dancing Goddess Army, that's what's up. The Integrated Dance League, an International Integrated Dance League, an International Integrated all genders, all ages, all sexual orientations, all willing, loving, integrated. We should have professional dancing and XYZ, but to be for pleasure and purpose. This institution, organization, the Dancing Goddess Army, pleasure because it's pleasurable to dance. Dancing is my favorite sport, and purpose environmental education and action in with other organizations, institutions, and governments, and on the stadiums, on the arenas, on the forest, in the streets. Patrol XYZ, go XYZ to dance for Mother Nature, the forgotten goddess, the greatest artist and scientist. And of course, environmental education, for example, citizens to know, be more aware what goes in the recycling. This doesn't go, don't put it in the recycling. And the compost, if you are to do compost and recycling, which is good for the environmental Mother Nature, what goes in the compost, what doesn't go, recycling, and of course recycling and compost. To better be aware of the environmental education, and then action, because action is required. Action has been required in my own healing and transformation to change some habits, So Adrian H, I died during COVID. I don't want to go back to nothing. I understand people wanted to maintain the status quo for a lot. The established order of things, the established order of things, the established order of things. And myself, I've died, I say some, died during COVID. Adrian H. Dragon died during being reborn. Adrian Hana Dragon. My dream, dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, is my dream. Has a social, philosophical, artistic, poetic, and spiritual even component. With at par with all these scientific, technological know-how and knowledge and wisdom and understanding which we are in technology. In a parallel life, I'm a scientist. In a parallel life, I'm a scientist. In a parallel life, I'm a scientist. We're supercomputers, satellites, 3G, 4G, 5G. I mean, in the parallel timeline as a scientist, I'm in the 6th and 7th G, 7G now. And of course, satellites, supercomputers, microchips, micro gadgets is my chosen path in that parallel life. In here, right here now, as is 11:05 a.m. in the morning, as an independent artist, independent activist, independent athlete, AAA, adding another dimensions, geopolitical analyst and theorist, philosopher, who's calling all willing living to support the dream called the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom. And fundamentally, in essence, generally it is for us to move towards a post-COVID economic, social, financial, spiritual, even philosophical, artistic, and poetic world for pleasure and purpose. Pleasure to adopt the philosophies, the body is a temple for pleasure and purpose. To invest in it in public hygiene, to encourage people to work out, train, and exercise, and to attain harmony between nature and civilization in a balanced, harmonized ways by education and action. So better recycling as an individual and collective level, because it also has to be both ways, public and private partnership. My dream called the Dancing Goddess in the Dragon Kingdom is fundamentally a public and a private partnership. Right, a public and a private partnership. It's fundamentally a public and a private partnership. First and foremost, across the collective North American civilization. Because you're still a Canadian. Many past lives I've lived as a spiritual teaching student who doesn't know at all. I've lived many past lives, many incarnations. As a matter of fact, in the back, that way, 156 years ago, 718 miles south of Hawk Island, you're still served in the U.S. Army. 156 years ago, south of Hawk Island, Montreal, 718 miles south of Hawk Island, Montreal. 156 years ago, I've served in the U.S. Army. 156 years ago, in a past life, 718 miles in the back, that way. south of Hakka and Montreal. I've served in the U.S. Army. So I'm speaking to my brothers and sisters in the USA as well. I believe a therapy for my American brothers and sisters as somebody who was born twice in the USA post 1776. I believe for a weekend, the best therapy and medicine for America is Dragon Spanks America. A whole weekend, I go to the White House and Congress and both the Republicans and the Democrats, and we live stream it on Facebook, live stream it on Instagram, live stream it everywhere. Consent. Both the Republicans and the Democrats. Dragon spanks the Congress, and I go spank. That will be a therapy. I believe it. Do you believe it? Dragon spanks America. Congress. And then we encourage Congress to give the farmers a hug, the truckers, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses. With consent and hygiene, obviously with consent and hygiene, to do a dance at the White House as well. So I'm calling on my American brothers and sisters as well. With this public-private partnership, my brother, astrological brother, Scorpio, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Sheryl Sandberg, all public and private institutions, first and foremost across the collective North American civilization, to support my theories. The DRT, Debt Refusion Theory, Citizen Integration Theory, and Democratic Fusion Theory. Trinity of theories, a serious nature to it. Also laugh, have humor. If we're gonna attain freedom, we have to also use some humor. Have to admit within ourselves we have prejudices, we have biases. It's hard to admit sometimes. I feel a certain way, and then to take action, right? The aggression, my brothers and sisters, the violence, the aggression. I have aggression within myself. Two keywords of my philosophy: channel and sublimate, channel and sublimate, channel and sublimate. To repress it will probably make us ill. I woke up a bit moody this morning. I admit, still a little negative thought. I cannot afford a massage therapy session. I wish I could have a massage. Well, I'm still going to call for, with consent and hygiene, for Tom Brady and Colin Seep to come in my underground room office in Temple to go live stream for the Dragon Army fundraising, Dancing Goddess Army fundraising, to give me a neck. That's what I would need. One on 30 minutes, 15 minutes, because a quarter of football, 4 quarters in football, NFL, 4 quarters times 4. 15 is a quarter in duration, the duration, 15 minutes each quarter. 4 times 15 is 60 minutes. So, 15 and then switch. Defense, offense. Okay, give themselves live stream. Gonna rate their hand game. And for LGBTQ issues, we're gonna give also. We wake up when we have different things. It's hard to admit that we are mediocre. I admit that some things I'm mediocre. I admit that some things I'm average. I admit that some things I'm so-so. Right? And we chew our nails sometimes, don't we? Feel inferior. Right? I'm a pro-labor universal revolutionary centrist who firmly believes that at this point in time, in this 2022 where we are now, in this October 20th, this late hour, World War III could begin any minute. We got ICBM rockets, man. Please, Mr. Jens Stoltenberg, brother, Secretary of NATO General. We say, love you. Armies and NATO. Make love tonight. You want Dragon Zero to take an order from a general who don't say love you armies? I'll get my coffee refill. Get out of here, man. The art of love. Hug. Consent. Because the main message allies to anonymous, to all allies anonymous, like hug. Hug like you never hugged before today, man. Carpe diem, carpe diem, carpe diem. Dragon. I'm taking orders from no general until he marches 7 hours with me in steel-toe boots. And he decides after those 7 hours marching in steel-toe boots with Dragon Zero, if he ain't got the word LOV, love you, Dragon, man, it's Stay 2 meters away, get vaccinated, and stay 2 meters away from Dragon Zero, baby. If it ain't about love, I don't want nothing to do with it. May I be avenged 93-fold, may I be avenged 93-fold, may I be avenged 93-fold, I am. Thank you for your understanding. So channel the aggression and the sublimation. Why do we have war? Why do we have this? Channel and sublimate the aggression and the violence. To admit we have biases, have lost economic, financial, commercial, opportunity, continuance of blessing, gossip. Yeah, I'm a homo. I'm a rainbow dragon. You work out like me? You want to work out? Forget that. I'm a rainbow. I'm gonna work out, do push-ups, do hawks, do march. Hygiene in public, wash your hands with soap and water. I'm gonna learn about things of civilization and nature. How many things I don't know, how many things I don't know, how many things I don't know. I admit I'm mediocre at some things. I admit I'm average at some things. I admit that some so. I lust. I watch a little PORN porn. I put a discipline only during the Sabbath, only during the Sabbath, only during the Sabbath, with consent and hygiene. Kisses God. One kiss was sent from the goddess, queen of heavens above. The one kiss to her sister below, credited to yours truly, Adrian Han, the dragon. Kiss turned, transformed, became 718 trillions of kisses. Kisses God, as a matter of fact. Consent. Can offer all my willing, loving allies to make kiss millionaires. And my anonymous sister, whom if I make a million, I'm going to give her half anyways of the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom. My anonymous sister, give her half of the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom. Give her half of the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom. My anonymous sister. First, I gotta pay my debt, but if we have the debt refusion theory, we won't have to, because we'll take my debt as a private citizen, 10,000, and your debt, and all the public and the private debt can refuse it to the whatever the US dollars and create the UE. That is my call, to create the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit. So I got this lip balm. Thank you, anonymous sister, for this donation of this lip balm. Okay. So my allies and enemies can kiss, 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 kiss. Got 718 trillions of kisses. Kisses got credited with the condition to freely distribute for my willingly loving allies and armies. That's the condition. Some marching steps by the billions with it, some push-ups by the billions, hogs by the billions, squats by the billions. Here, take 1,000 squats. Dr. Dragon, the people's dragon here. That was my prescription for the day. 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 hogs. There you go. And with these rules, the General War Integrated Body Training System, Coast to Coast, North America, Finance, NBA, National Basketball Association, NFL, MLB, multi-millionaire athletes, please give 10% of everything you made during COVID to food security, women's sports leagues, LGBTQ youth services, and of course for environmental Mother Nature causes. I encourage all to work out, to train, and to exercise. Mr. NATO Secretary General, please try to read less from a piece of paper. I know, bureaucracy, blah 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 blah. Please, Mr. NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization member Jess Stolberg, please, say NATO, of which you are part of as Canadians, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Please say, love you. I'm your Secretary General of NATO, military alliance. Make love tonight, soldiers. Make love tonight, soldiers. Make love tonight, soldiers. You want dragons, General, I don't say I love you. Man, you must be out of your fucking mind, man. You must be disco, and I'm talking about boogie boogie. I'm talking about disco fucking nected. Thank you for your understanding. I want to be loved. I want to love. What are we fighting to save civilization for if somebody's not gonna make love now? The youth, our first love, our first youth, today, tonight, somebody's not making LOV with consent. Beloved and the loved, the loved and the beloved, the loved. What are we fighting to save civilization for, man? Got ICBM rockets, nuclear warheads, 42 years of the Cold War, USSR, United States build thousands of nuclear warheads, nuclear weaponry, in 1947 to 1989, 1947 to 1989, 1947 to 1989. Got ICBM intercontinental ballistic missiles, man. My message is make love, hug today, hug like you never hugged before, hug hard. And I fight my own battles. If I've offended, triggered, upset, XYZ, blah blah, I get offended, I get triggered, I get moody, I was suicidal, depressed, I've conquered depression, hard battles. To admit we deal with. How many are in the closet? NFL, there's one. There's not only Colin Nassib who's in sports, multi-millionaire athletes. In the NFL, there's one on each team. In the NBA, working out, training, watching the NBA, there's one on each team of the NBA who is LGBTQ. How many are in the open? Zero. 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 I can guarantee I don't like to gamble, I like to bet, but I can guarantee there's one the NBA who is LGBTQ. NHL as well. My Habs as well. Habs, there is one who's LGBTQ in the Habs. No doubt. The statistics prove it. It's what, 7%? Still a small minority who are LGBTQ rainbow like me. Still. Right? But even statistics prove there should be at least 2 or 3. Right? If there's more than 20 players, it should be at least 2 or 3, right? If there's more than 30, it should be 3 or 4. Statistically, millennials. Most players are millennials, my generation, in the patriarchal sports leagues. I say patriarchal because there's not even one women's sports leagues who makes even close economically, financially, commercially. And I love women's basketball rocks. I'm gonna work out during the weekend with working out, training, exercising. And yours truly, I am androgynous. I'm a man and I'm a woman. I'm both. I am pansexual. I've been in the open for many years now. Of course, I have intensity. I have this and that. I'm mediocre, average some things. I XYZ. I'm open for business as well. If it's not about love, show love or move along is my social media policy. Show love or move along. My social media policy is show LOV or move along is my social media policy first and foremost. Show love or move along. And that is my main social media policy. Show love or move along. And of course, constructive criticism. Constructive criticism is welcome. Constructive criticism with addition, XYZ, because I firmly believe in my CIT, citizen integration theory, debt refusion theory, and democratic fusion theory. Like debt refusion theory, democratic fusion theory, and CIT, citizen integration theory. Be integrated by the fourth dimension. Fourth dimension is LOV, love. Fourth dimension is LOVE, love. That's why I love when I go on marches and I see couples holding hands or kissing or hugging. I say, yes, there's hope. Yes, there's hope. I see couples, especially the youth, and they kiss or they hug and they have fun and they smile or they hold hands. I say, yes, thank Goddess, GODDS says there's hope. I see people embracing, kissing, holding hands, especially the youth. I said, yes, there's hope. So give Adrian Hanna Dragon some hope. My allies and armies pledge your legions. Kiss, hug today when you hear this. Christian hygiene in public. Wash your hands after in public. If you make $1 million on the stock market today, give 10%. 10% of $1 million is 100,000 divided by 4. Give 25,000, which is 1/4. 25% of 100,000 is 25,000. Give 25,000 for food security because everybody gotta eat, even Wall Street. 25,000 for women's sports leagues, 25,000 for LGBTQ youth services, and 25,000 for Mother Nature to plant a tree for every tree that we cut down, to plant one instead of it, right? That would be a balance fundamentally on the principles of action, because I operate a lot on the principles of action. So now the debt refusion theory, because first and foremost, we gotta have the DRT, the debt refusion theory, has to come first. So what is the debt refusion theory? So debt refusion theory, as I've lectured twice, part 2 and part 1. I'm going to go a revision in this third and final cup for the cup of coffee on this series of this week, is of course taking all the private and the public debt, all the private and the public debt, all the private and the public debt, all the private and the public debt. My private debt, I'm $10,000 in debt to the RBC, to the Royal Bank of Canada. being $10,000 in debt, my debt, and if X would represent the private debt of private citizens such as myself, yourself, and others, we would have to do a refusion. So we will take all the debt of Canadians, Mexicans, and collective North American civilization and beyond, NATO member countries, and of course my protocol Genesis 33 calls Israel, join NATO, and this dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom dream. So to have protocol Genesis 33. Genesis 33 is a story in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, where the two twins, Jacob and Esau, kissed and embraced, and the two twins, Jacob and Esau, kissed and embraced. It's chapter 33, verse 4. Chapter 33, verse 4. Chapter 33, verse 4. And I'm going to go in the coming days, weeks, into a whole discussion of the protocol 33 and the collective North American civilization, and of course continue my philosophical explanation of my dream, which is the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, which I am calling all willing living to support, join in whatever capacity, shape, or form that they so choose. As it's 11:23 a.m. here in the morning. Thank you. I love you, kiss you, farmers. Thank you for all the food. The farmers love you, kiss you, hug you, because I am grateful. And although I did farm, urban farming, I do admit that I have farm privileges. We all have interconnected privileges at one point in time, or different circumstances of our civilization, such as this light and electricity above my head, which is clean, zero pollution, zero emission energy. 63 dams built with brains and muscle, which I'm utilizing. Thank you, love you, kiss you, big dragon hugs to past, present, and future Hydro-Quebec workers. Past, present, and future Hydro-Quebec workers. Credit to you, big dragon hugs to past, present, and future Hydro-Quebec workers. Credit to you, big dragon hugs to Hydro-Quebec past, present, and future Hydro-Quebec workers. Big dragon hugs. L'hydro-Calais, pour les travailleurs du passé, du présent et du futur de l'Hydro-Québec. Merci beaucoup pour l'électricité qui n'a pas pas en tout. It's a little bit of French. I love French, right? Poetry, philosophy in French, and art in French. Idea for movies, scenario, scripts. And of course, right here in this room of Sun Temple, 11:24 a.m. Please, if you make $1 million buying, selling, trading stocks on the stock market today, give 10% for food security, 10% divided 10% of that million, which is the equivalent of 100,000. 100,000 divided by 4 make it 25,000. 25,000 for food security, 25,000 for food security, 25,000 for LGBTQ youth services, 25,000 for women's sports leagues, and 25,000 for Mother Nature. Also, this applies my call to give 10% every million you make on the stock market, stockbrokers, financiers, and yesterday, in the past, or tomorrow, which is Friday, last day of stock trading in the Wall Street, give 10% if you make a million tomorrow as well. So right here, the debt refusion theory is taking all private and public debt. My private debt is 10,000, would represent the public. Private debt will be represented by the letter X. Public debt would be represented by the letter Y. So the private debt of private citizens, such as myself, would be represented by the letter X. So take all the X's. If I'm X1, mine's 10,000, and if you're X2, and there's tens of thousands, 100,000, millions of X's across North America and beyond, NATO, Israel, and beyond, and my brothers and sisters in Central America, South America, the Middle East, Africa, brothers and sisters in Africa. And of course, taking all the X's and with the Y's, the letter Y, would be the public debt. Public debt of public Canada, United States, Mexico, European Union, NATO member countries, Israel, and beyond. So the public debt of the nations, states, Canada, Canadian public debt, domestic public debt, and all the debt. So all the private debt, all the public debt. So all the X's and all the Y's put together, converted to US dollars. So we convert it because the US dollar, this US dollar printed in 2009, this US dollar was printed in 2009. This US dollar printed in 2009. This US dollar was printed in 2009. This US dollar was printed in 2009. So convert it, what's called in Forex, the Forex foreign exchange market, to convert it, do the currency conversion. So from Canadian dollars to US dollars, from Mexican pesos to US dollars, from NATO member countries. Most NATO member countries have the euro, although some retained the euro in parallel. They have two currencies. They use the euro to buy and sell, and they use their old currency as well. Not many, but a few. Not sure exactly which have also retained, but I know most all countries, NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization member countries, and European Union, they use the euro. So I have to do that conversion. So let's check today how much is the conversion of the to do the conversion today. So Canadian to US conversion. Canadian to US conversion. Today, one Canadian dollar is the equivalent of 73 cents today. So this US dollar is the equivalent of 73 cents US today. So this Canadian dollar is the equivalent of 73 cents today. This US dollar is correction. I did the reverse. So one Canadian dollar is the equivalent of 73 cents US only, right? One Canadian dollar. I have a Canadian dollar, let's see. One Canadian dollar is the equivalent of 73 cents US. Yay, bingo, we got a dollar. $2009, so this Canadian dollar was minted in the same year, 2009, as this one. This Canadian dollar was minted in the same year as this US dollar. So one Canadian dollar, this Canadian dollar, minted in 2009, is the equivalent of 73 cents US. How about vice versa? Vice versa, this US dollar gives me one Canadian dollar and 37 cents Canadian. So one US dollar gives me one US dollar gives me one Canadian dollar and 37 cents Canadian. So one US dollar is the equivalent of $1.37. Yesterday was 1.38, so it kind of went down by 1 cent, which is 1% basically, because it's $1 Canadian and $1 US. We both have cents, 100 cents, which is 1%. So from yesterday, we could say that the US dollar depreciated 1% and the Canadian dollar appreciated. The inverse. Appreciation means it gains strength against the opposite currency, and devaluation means it lost strength against the opposite currencies in terms of the cents or whatever it is. So taking all the private and the public debt, converting it to US dollars. So let's say peso now. Let's see the peso, how peso doing today. Today, one Mexican peso, it hasn't changed much in the past days and even from last week. One Mexican peso is the equivalent of 5 cents US. One Mexican peso is the equivalent of 5 cents US today. One Mexican peso is the equivalent of 5 cents US. That's the foreign exchange. One Mexican peso is 5 cents US, and vice versa. One US dollar, this US dollar is the equivalent of, it went up a bit, so it's going up and down every day. Of course, it fluctuates every day, it could change throughout the day, it can change. So one US dollar, this US dollar is the equivalent of 20.05 Mexican peso. One US dollar is the equivalent of 20.05 Mexican peso. One US dollar is the equivalent of 20.05 Mexican peso. One US dollar, equivalent of 20.05 Mexican pesos. I wonder how many avocados I can get in Mexico with 20 pesos as opposed to how many for $1 in the US, right? It would be the import-export and other tariffs on our trades and XYZ, the addition on the transportation and what have you. So pretty sure, without a doubt, that I can get more in Mexico because they grow a lot of avocados for 20 Mexican peso. Can I get 5 avocados? Like maybe I can get even more. Maybe can I get 10? There's a question. So now for the euro to US conversion. So it hasn't changed since yesterday. 1 euro is the equivalent of 98 cents US. 1 euro today is the equivalent of 98 cents US. 1 euro today is the equivalent of 98 cents US. 1 euro today is the equivalent of 98 cents today. And the reverse. 1 US dollar. This US dollar is the equivalent of 1 euro and 2 euro cents. So 1 US dollar is the equivalent of 1.02. 1 US dollar is the equivalent of 1.02. So 1 US dollar is the equivalent of 1 euro and 2 cents. Hasn't changed much since yesterday. I think it's the same. Let's see Israeli new shekel now. One new Israeli shekel is the equivalent of 28 US cents. One new, the NIS, the new Israeli shekel, is the equivalent of 28 cents US. One new Israeli shekel is 28 cents US. One US dollar, this US dollar, is the equivalent of 3.54 new Israeli shekels. So it went down a bit. So we could say that since last week it was 3.58 at one point, it was 3.58 a few weeks ago, a month ago it was 3.58, then it went 3.57, then 3.56, and now it's 3.54. So it depreciated. The US dollar depreciated versus the new Israeli shekel, while the new Israeli shekel appreciated. It gained strength versus the US dollar because it's in cents. So one US dollar is the equivalent of 3.54 new Israeli shekels. One US dollar is the equivalent of 3.54 new Israeli shekels. One US dollar is the equivalent of 3.54 new Israeli shekels than this. So that is the debt refusion theory. So taking all private and public debt, my private is $10,000 to the RBC. Taking my debt, X, if I'm X1, you're X2, and there's hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions across North America, and of course NATO member countries, North Atlantic Treaty Organizations, of which Canada and US are members, and calling for the Protocol Genesis 33, after that story of those twins, who the twins Jacob and Esau embraced and kissed, and of course with Israel too, including my dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom's dream and beyond, Central America, South America, my brothers and sisters in Africa, my brothers and sisters in Africa, my brothers and sisters in Africa and the Middle East, and of course all willingly loving to support the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom dream right here, independent philosopher, artist, activist, athlete from La Belle Province, Hawk Island, Quebec, to a world peace advocate as well, but of course do acknowledge that I have aggression within myself, but to sublimate it and channel it, to sublimate and channel. Super important keywords of my philosophy, my independent psychological analysis and theory, to channel and sublimate, channel and sublimate, whatever it is, whether it's lust, sexuality, it's so holy, sacred, and divine, that to repress, we gotta channel it and sublimate it, right? So that we harm none and we consent, we harm none and with consent, I myself, like myself, some BDSM switch. I've been open for years, and the open about being androgynous, pansexual. I've lost economic, financial, commercial continuance and blessings and opportunity due to being LGBTQ and the gospel and XYZ. Sometimes I'm philosophical, intellectual, cosmopolitan, sophisticated in the analysis of interactions of society, technologies, and psychological tendencies as an independent psychological analyst and theorist and philosopher. But sometimes I'm straightforward and direct, straightforward. I blame it on being an Israeli in a past life, of many past lives, many incarnations. I was an Israeli in a past life, so I claim that retain a little bit of straightforward and directness. My rent's paid in full, fully paid my rent and electricity bill. Thank you. Paid my, and I'm open for business. And I could use a good massage therapy. Cannot afford a massage therapy. It's expensive. Gotta spend only on necessities, food, bread and butter dishes. But nonetheless, I am also thankful, grateful that I can take a bath. I can substitute it by taking a bath. I can take a warm, hot bath, which I do during the weekend, and I can stay an hour or even an hour and a half or even 2 hours in the bath, and that substitutes my soreness from working out, training, exercising, which is my medicine and therapy of choice, So I can substitute it by taking a long bath, of which I'm grateful, thankful that I'm able to utilize the energy, the electricity to take a long, warm bath. Yeah, to substitute, because I'm unable to pay for massage therapy session. Well, I take my medicine and therapy, which is my working out, training, and exercising, which I'm calling for all to also do and channel the aggression and sublimate everything and admit. Sometimes it's hard to admit we're dealing with XYZ factors, jealousies and envies. And it's hard to admit. I admit that I'm mediocre at some things, average at other things, so at some other things. While I compliment, I'm great, super, and excellent at some other things. Philosophy, art, the people's athlete, and intellectual. independent psychological analyst and theorist, independent sexual analyst and theorist, and put together independent psychosexual analyst and theorist, analyzing my own dimensions of sexuality and physicality and the lusts and the cravings of the body. And my philosophy is the body is a temple for pleasure and purpose. And how do we invest in the body? By working out, training, and exercising. To my willingly loving allies and armies, pledge your allegiance. I encourage you to work out, train, exercise, and of course to be as honest as you can with the feelings, the emotions, and to channel and sublimate and to take action, because action has been required in my own healing and transformation. Action is required. Action is required. Brains and muscle to build, maintain, and upgrade civilization has been, is, and will be required. Brains and muscle has been, is, and will continue to be required for building, hopefully maintaining, and hopefully upgrading civilization as we attain harmony between civilization and nature. So the DRT, Debt Refusion Theory, taking all private and public debt, refusing it, my private debt, $10,000 if I'm X, you're X1, and there's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of X's. So adding up, whatever the number is, of course, since the US dollar is still the international trade currency, the world currency for business, the worldwide global currency, dominating currency for trade exchange and economics and finance and commerce, the US dollar still dominates internationally, globally, and worldwide. So taking all the debt, Canadian dollar, the public and the private debt of Canadians and Canada, converting it to US dollar, so there's that amount. The US debt, of course, stays because it's the number, it's in US dollars, so it will be that number. There's no conversion necessary. The Mexican peso, all the public and the private debt Mexico, converting it, and of course create the UE, what I call the UE. The UE stands for U dot E dot U dot Universal Exchange Unit. The UE stands for Universal Exchange Unit. That's why I'm calling on a public-private partnership to create the UE, and by creation of the UE, taking all private and public debt of Canada, Mexico, beyond, NATO member countries, and Israel and beyond, of course. And with that number, whatever the number is, it's in the trillions of US dollars. Create a global central bank and international financial system, a new worldwide financial bank to issue a new currency, global currency, the UE. The Universal Exchange Unit stands for U dot E dot. U stands for universal, as in global, international. E for exchange unit, because money, what is money? What is this Canadian dollar, this US dollar? Is basically a unit of exchange. Allow us to buy and sell, allows us to buy and sell. So basically, to create the UE, Universal Exchange Unit, preferably by biometrics, the hand, the voice, and the eye are unique biometric identifiers. That's why I'm calling my astrological brother, of which in a parallel life I'm a mixture, a scientist, a mixture of Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and Elon Musk. A little bit of Crowley in it, a little bit of Crowley in it, a little bit of Crowley in it. And calling on my astrological brother Bill Gates, love you, kiss you, hug you, big dragon hugs, and Elon Musk, and of course Mark Zuckerberg, and all governments, public and private partnership, and institutions and organizations to support this DRT, the Debt Refusion Theory, which is where we are now. It's 2022, October 20th. I do firmly believe in it to be created and implemented. The DRT, Debt Refusion Theory, I do believe that it is best at its implementation at this point in time, where we are as a civilization, first and foremost, as a collective North American civilization. The DRT is a collective North American civilization, the DRT, to create the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit, by the Debt Refusion Theory, which of course is taking all private and public debt, Canada, US, and Mexico, and of course beyond NATO member countries and Israel, taking all the private and the public debt, whatever the number is, it's going to be in the trillions. With that number in the trillions, all the public and the private debt, in converted Canadian dollars to US dollars, the debt Mexico to US dollars, and of course the Israeli new shekel, and of course create the UE. And preferably by biometrics, the hand, the voice, and the eye are unique biometric identifiers. With that number, of course, finance the initial money supply, and then put a 10% interest maximum on all loans, business loans, credit loans, business, or whatever the number is on all the loans that are possible. Gonna get a refill, gonna get a refill, I'm gonna revise. And what's up? Good for you. It's my anonymous sister. If I make a me, I'm gonna give her half. My anonymous sister. If I make a me, I'm gonna give her half. If I make a me, I'm gonna give her half. Half of the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom dream. Gonna get a refill first. I'm gonna finish the discussion of the DRT, so the debt refusion theory, taking all private and public debt. My private debt, 10,000. If you're 10,000, all the X's and the Y's put together, whatever the number is. If it's Canadian dollars, we're gonna have to do the conversion. Gonna have to do the conversion into US dollars. So the number in US dollars, the number of the Canadian dollars exchange converted forex into US dollars, and the forex and the Mexican peso, and of course from the European Union as well as Israel. So taking all the numbers of the total public and private debt is in the trillions. The total public and private debt is in the trillions. Already is in the trillion for Canada, Canadian dollars, and the US. So taking all the private and the public debt, convert it to the Canadian dollar debt, debt, public and private, in the US dollars, Mexican private and public debt, convert it to US dollars, European euro, NATO member countries, converted to US dollars, Israel and beyond, converted into US dollars, South America, Central America, in Africa, Middle East, whoever else willing to join the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom, public-private partnership, the dream. So all the number in the trillions, refuse it. So with that number added together, debt of all the countries in US dollars, converted into US dollars, that trillions, that would be that's the initial money supply. That's the initial money supply. The initial money supply of that new global central bank, transnational, international bank. National. I'm calling the IMF, the World Bank to support it. The IMF, the World Bank to support it. The IMF, the World Bank to support it. The IMF and the World Bank to support it. So converting it, whatever the number is in US dollars, would that finance the initial money supply, the initial money supply, the initial money supply? It's going to be in the trillion, and then set a maximum interest on all loans, 10%, on principal 10%, on principal 10% maximum, on all business loans, XYZ loans, pleasure loans, factors, school loans, construction loans, mortgage loans. It can be 9.99, it can be 7, it can be 8, the maximum on that 10%, doesn't matter of principal. 10%, as I'm calling for the also make a mean on the buying, selling, trading stocks to give 10% for XYZ. 10% of a mean is 100,000, so that's why I set the 10% on all loans maximum. It can be less, it can be 8%, 9%, 8.8, whatever the numbers. But initially, the money supply to be the number of all the debt, public and private, of all the countries of NATO, let's say in Israel and beyond, NATO, countries in Israel and beyond, NATO member countries in Israel, to create the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit, preferably by biometrics, the hand, the voice, and the eye are unique biometric identifiers. So one more time, the revision. So Debt Refusion Theory, the DRT, which I'm calling for its implementation, taking all private and public debt of Canadians, Mexico, NATO member countries, and beyond, NORAD, and beyond with Israel, and taking all the number, whatever it is, converted into US dollars, the Canadian dollar converted into US dollars, the Mexican peso into US dollars, the euro converted into US dollars, the New Israeli shekels into US dollars, and with that number, creating this global central bank to infuse it with that initial, whatever the amount is in the trillions. I calculated it something like 93 trillions, some 93, maybe less, 93 trillion, 77 trillion, 66 trillion, 61 trillion. So that number is going to be the initial money supply, and thus set a limit of 10% in loans, because we're going to have it at zero. This debt refusion theory, we're going to refuse it, and then we're going to create the two complementary covenant cooperative institutions, the International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Laws, aka the Dragon Army, to be for service and security. Services with consent, hygiene, mutual understanding, and love, whatever can be offered. No judgment. Consent, hygiene, principle that harm none. Consent, hygiene, principle that harm none. Consent, hygiene, principle that harm none. Can be washing, cooking, cleaning, kissing, massaging. Trucker says, truck can't afford Dragon Army, I need a half an hour neck Next rub is any dragon there. I'm gonna stop in this state or this province or Alberta, British Columbia, New Brunswick, somewhere down the line in the Midwest, across the collective North American civilization with a 1-800 Dragon Army number, 1-800 Dragon Army number, 1-800 Dragon Army, connected and integrated the Dragon Army with all public and private institutions and organizations, encourage people in hygiene in public, encourage people to hygiene, wash your hands with soap and water, and to encourage people to work out, train, exercise, and collaboration with the NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB, and all sports leagues and universities and colleges to do my workout, and encourage people to XYZ and to offer services, whatever services, XYZ, to help with XYZ everywhere, anywhere, 24/7, whatever services with consent and hygiene. And then after we have the DRT, Debt Refusion Theory has to come first. We can have the Citizen Integration Theory, the CIT. CIT stands for Citizen Integration Theory, and the Democratic Fusion Theory. The CIT is once we have the Dragon Army in complementary covenant and cooperative way with the Dancing Goddess Army, we can of course have the Citizen Integration Theory to encourage people, citizens, to go see how, example, the recycling is done, how the compost is done, how the garbage, where it goes processed, how one of these 63 dams operate here across Quebec, east, west, north, south, how the ports operate, the railroads, the farming. Thank you, love you, kiss you, farmers, butchers, bakers, truckers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, and all involved in the production and distribution of food, those loading and unloading the trucks now, those loading and unloading the trucks now, those loading and unloading the trucks now. Thank you, love you, kiss you, those farmers. That's what everybody gotta eat. So with the Dragon Army, secure the three essential elements of civilization: food, housing, and transport. Food, housing, and transport. Food, housing, and transport. Let's do a meditation across the collective North America, Canada, US, trucks going east, west, north, south. How much food? How much? Of course, is being produced now in the restaurants. XYZ. There's a big amount of production of food at this moment in time across North America, and of course, from the farming to the trucking, the transportation, or via freight train. Via thank you, train conductors. Love you, kiss you, big dragon hugs to the train conductors. Big dragon hugs to the train conductors going east, west, north, south. We have, of course, the trains, the freight trains carrying grain or milk or whatever produce, or potatoes, tomatoes, rutabagas, all the goods, all the cheese and meat, bacon across North America, right? And going to restaurants, all the big restaurants, the fast food joints. Please give this Halloween free Halloween cheeseburger, hamburger, cheeseburger, hamburger. So having the implementation of the Debt Refusion Theory, DRT, in complementary with the Citizen Integration Theory, of course, to be on the for the Citizen Integration Theory, CIT, of course, to go on the ground to see how recycling is done, how the garbage is being picked up, how, of course, the trains operate, and to offer them services, whatever it is, with consent and hygiene services. A neck rub for a trucker, a massage for a farmer, helping with the children go play because they driving the parents crazy, they're too hyperactive, they can do a little push-ups, do some soccer, play some sports, play some basketball, do XYZ, dance, or to go, of course, to paint, to do XYZ. Services, security and services, whatever it is. Trucker drives 13 hours from California all the way to the Midwest, or from here, Hokkaido, Montreal, drives to Florida, from Florida to here, or from the Midwest to here, from XYZ across North America. I'm so sore. I've been driving 30 years. I could use once, say, my drive in the midway, I could use a good neck rub. I can do a good neck rub. I can do a good massage. XYZ services and security and service for the 21st century. For the 21st century, security and services. I could use myself now a good neck rub, a good massage. If I'm gonna work out hard, train. It's okay. I'm gonna substitute it for a bath. I can substitute it for a bath. So I'm gonna work out, train, exercise. Workout, training, exercise. Whole security and service for the 21st century. Apply that the body is a temple for pleasure and purpose and consent, hygiene, consent, hygiene and consent. I'm gonna go get a refill and we're gonna read some more. We're ready for some more rock and roll. We're gonna do some readings from last time where we opened the right here. We're gonna continue doing the reading from the Dictionary of Politics, concise Dictionary of Politics, concise Dictionary of Politics, where we opened it, and we're gonna read. I'm gonna rock and roll. So one more time, of course, I am saying that I'm calling for the implementation of my trinity of theories: the citizen integration theory, debt refusion theory, and democratic fusion theory, to be implemented ASAP. To be implemented ASAP from November 7 to starting a 7-year implementation of my CIT, debt refusion theory, and democratic fusion theory 7-year plan. November 7 for the implementation of my CIT, citizen integration theory, debt refusion theory, and democratic fusion theory from November 7 for 7-year plan, which I'm going to begin discussing in coming days and weeks. Please, if you make $1 million on the stock market today, give 10% for food security, 10% for food security, and for women's sports leagues, and for LGBTQ youth services. And everybody gotta eat, even Wall Street. Everybody gotta eat, even Wall Street. This is the Dictionary of Politics. This is yours truly, a philosopher, independent artist, independent activist, AAA plus other dimensions to that Trinity, universal spiritual teaching student who's not perfect, far from it, and was calling all willing living to support the implementation of the CIT, citizen integration theory, debt fusion theory, and democratic fusion theory. To implement that trinity of theories with the fourth dimension, LOV, make love tonight, is the main message, with consent and hygiene. Because of course, if somebody's not making love tonight, what are we fighting to save civilization for? And my main message is with consent today, hug like you never hugged before. My main message today is with consent, hug like you never hugged before. My main message today with consent and hygiene is hug like you never hugged before. That is the main message. With consent and hygiene as the Dragon Army, to be for security and service, to be for security and service, to be for security and service. That's what I'm calling for, to be for security and service. Security and service. Both for the 21st century. Security and service. Responsible government, defined in A.H. Birch's Representative on Responsible Government in terms of a government that is responsive to public opinion, that pursues policy that are prudent and mutually consistent, and that is accountable to the representatives of the electors. So in the context of the Dragon Army, to be integrated with all existing public and private institutions and organizations, and the Dancing Goddess as well. But first, of course, the DRT, to create the global central bank, to issue the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit, that I'm calling for. U.E.U, that stands for Universal Exchange Unit, and by biometrics, the hand, the voice, and the eye being unique biometric identifiers in order to issue this global exchange, global currency of exchange, and of course to create the two complementary and covenant and cooperative institutions, the International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Force, aka the Dragon Army, with the International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Force, Security and Service Force, dual purpose with the aka the Dragon Army, with the International Integrated Dancing, aka the Dancing Goddess Army. The Dancing Goddess Army to be integrated in all existing organizations and institutions, and in order to offer, of course, the pleasure and purpose, organized dancing events across the world, and local, national, collective North American civilization to dance for pleasure and purpose. For pleasure and purpose, for pleasure and purpose, for environmental education and action, and to be integrated with all social media and webcams, of course, integrated with Facebook and Instagram, and live stream 24 services and activities, 24/7 live stream services and activity, 24/7 live stream the services and activities of the Dragon Army, officially the International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Force, aka the Dragon Army, with the Dancing Goddess Army. Both the Dragon Army and the Dancing Goddess Armies to live stream the activities, and of course the account, the services, whatever services have be offered, so that there's no abuse. You can't ask for a massage service 3 times a day. Mr. Smith, you already called for a massage yesterday. Don't abuse my dragon spitfire. Don't abuse my dragon spitfire. Don't abuse my dragon spitfire. Revenue sharing and representative of the electors. Revenue sharing in general, any scheme for balancing taxing and spending between tiers of government, especially in federal systems. Without revenue sharing, rich regions of a country will be able to raise more than poor regions, but required to spend less. Therefore, any country in which there is pressure for redistributive politics will face pressure for revenue sharing, even if its constitution divides the power to tax among tiers of government. In particular, the term is used in the United States to denote arrangements whereby federal revenue is shared with state and local governments, with certain conditions attached. Revisionism. 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 Any critical departure from the original interpretation of Marxist theory. The term originating during the Second International and associated with Bernstein's critique of the theoretical premises and political strategies of Marxism. Bernstein is in the surname. Critique of the theoretical premises and political strategies of Marxism. He argued that Marx's analysis of the inevitable crises of capitalism was not in fact happening. Monopoly capital had proved resilient to crises of production and used imperialist expansion as a safety valve for surplus value. Social polarization was not occurring. The working class was not increasingly impoverished. A new middle class was emerging and the peasants were not disappearing. Bernstein believed that it would be possible to move towards socialism within the present democratic framework, with mass socialist parties seeking electoral collaboration with other progressive forces. He was influenced by Fabian is in the surname, Fabian, ideas concerning the permeation of the state. Bernstein contended that he was only giving a conceptual perspective to a situation that already existed in Germany and England. Subsequently, the revisionist label has been applied in a pejorative manner to any significant reinterpretation of classical Marxist theory which is seen to point in a reformist direction. In a reformist, interesting. In a reformist direction, reformist as a reform. Calling all willing loving to the dancing goddess of the Dragon Kingdom, which is my dream, which includes think about sociology, philosophy, psychology, the body, the spirituality, politics, and business, and all things of nature and civilization is included in my dancing goddess and the Dragon Kingdom's dream, as I'm calling all willing loving to the dancing goddess and the Dragon Kingdom to pledge your legions as allies, and I'm founding the dancing goddess and the Dragon Kingdom with kisses, First and foremost, kisses got 718 trillions of kisses. Some brain and some muscle with that. As a philosopher, I do firmly believe, although I am now without vices or now without temperament or get moody, get upset, and get XYZ, I don't play it self-righteous, that I'm floating on clouds as a universal spiritual teaching student, because I do have cravings and lusts of the flesh, and I do believe in indulging them with consent and hygiene, in satisfying the pleasures of the body and of whatever XYZ, and with consent and hygiene, and the androgynous pansexual form of the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, which is my dream. Please increase in hygiene in public. Wash your hands with soap and water when you go in and out of a public place, such as a bank, grocery store, a mall, of course a school. Once you step outside, we all have public dimension, public responsibility, duties, and obligations. Right here I'm in my private office and temple, sharing a lot of my philosophies and putting my call to all willingly loving, because gotta come from will. My call to all willingly loving. And revolution. Why I love, willingly loving. It's not about love, I don't want nothing to do with it. Love is also action, not just blah blah blah. So implement my Trinity of theories via love, L-O-V, via love, L-O-V, via love. Revolution. The overthrow of an established order, which will involve the transfer of state power from one leadership to another and may involve the radical restructuring of social and economic relations. Well, my argument is, of course, to the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom to create the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions. International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Force, aka the Dragon Army, with the International Integrated Dance League, aka the Dancing Goddess Army. Dancing Goddess Army to be for pleasure and purpose, environmental education and action, and the Dragon Army to be for security and service, security and service, security and service, security and service. Radical restructuring of social and economic relations. So I'm calling for the Debt Refusion Theory. I firmly believe my DRT, Debt Refusion Theory, which I've discussed, is best at this point in time where we are, this October 20th, 2022, of this with shrinkflation, inflation, the worst economic, financial, commercial crisis, with the prices of food increasing, I do firmly believe in it, and creating the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions of the International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Force, aka the Dragon Army, to be for security and service and willing, loving citizens, volunteers, calling for the mobilization of 1% across North America and beyond, to create this new institution for pleasure and purpose with the Dancing Goddess Army, and for security and service based on my philosophies in the 21st century, integrated with all existing private security and public security institutions and organizations across the collective North American civilization and beyond, a public-private partnership between all institutions and organizations, public corporations, private corporations, and of course governments. Okay, public-private partnership. French Revolution, the modern meaning, expel this one. Revolutions are processes incorporating both elite competition and mass mobilization. Revolutions are processes incorporating both elite competition and mass mobilization. Revolutions are processes incorporating both elite competition and mass mobilization. Their causes are long in gestation, so that they may appear to occur spontaneously and will have both domestic and international roots. Their outcomes differ from the original objectives of their participants. It is difficult to identify when revolutions begin and end. There have been many revolutionary situations which have not resulted in revolutionary outcomes. The small number of recognizably great revolutions creates methodological problems for comparative analysis. One can differentiate between political and social revolutions. A political revolution produces changes in the character of both state power and personnel. It lasts It lasts until the monopoly of control and force of the old is broken and a new hegemonic group constitutes the sovereign power of the state. It may provoke a counter-revolution and sometimes a restoration. Social revolutions, which are far rarer, involve political and social transformations, class struggle, and pressure for radical change from below. This mobilization may be manipulated by other actors to achieve their own objectives, which may be opposed to those of the popular classes. Revolutions are perceived and experienced differently according to the actors' positions within the process. The depth of social transformation will depend upon the intensity of class struggle, the nature of class alignment, the strategy, organization, and leadership of the revolutionary forces, and the resilience of the incumbent authorities. Karl Marx described revolutions as the locomotives of history. The most succinct, S-U-C-C-I-N-C-T, succinct presentation of his views on how history progresses is found in the preface to the contribution to the critique of political economy from 1859. New modes of production, feudalism, capitalism, socialism, were generated within the confines of the existing ones, just like my advocacy call to all to support the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom dream, which is my dream of the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, which is a public-private partnership, and fundamentally, in essence and generally, that my call to support the implementation of my trinity of theories, the CIT, citizen integration theory, debt refusion theory, and democratic fusion theory. The trinity of theories, CIT, DRT, and DFT, to be implemented via the fourth dimension, and that fourth dimension is love. And LOV, love is also action, not just blah blah blah. So to implement the Trinity of theories, CIT, DRT, and the democratic fusion theory via the fourth dimension, LOV is my call to all. And of course is to implement the debt refusion theory, citizen integration theory, and democratic fusion theory, and create the two complementary, covenant, and cooperative institutions of the International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Force, aka the Dragon Army, with the International Integrated Dancing, aka the Dancing Goddess Army, in order to be for purpose of pleasure, and Dragon Army, public-private partnership for security and service, for security and service, for security and service. And the Dancing Goddess Army, the DGA, officially International Integrated Dance League, to be for pleasure and purpose, for pleasure and purpose, for pleasure and purpose. And that is my two complementary covenant cooperative institutions, part of my Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom dream. Fundamentally, the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom is my dream for us, myself included, as yours truly, Adrian H. died during COVID, being reborn Adrian Hana Dragon, androgynous pansexual founder of the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom, calling all willing loving to support the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom's dream for a public-private partnership for us to move towards post-COVID, new economic, social, financial, spiritual, political, democratic, and artistic, and philosophical, and spiritual, and financial, economic system for pleasure and purpose. Purpose to attain harmony between civilization and nature, and have some pleasure and some joy, especially for the youth, for the youth, for the youth. Encourage all in hygiene in public. Please wash your hands in public with soap and water, hand sanitizer when you go outside. There's the responsibility, duty, and obligation in the public for public hygiene at the moment, because there's microbes, bacteria, and germs. And encourage all to work out, train, exercise. Working out, training, and exercising has been, is, and will continue to be my medicine and therapy of choice. Existing one. Revolutions were caused by the development within a mode of production of a contradiction between the social forces and the social relations of production, with the latter acting as fetters upon the former. This expressed itself in the intensification of class conflict, ushering in what Marx, M-A-R-X, surname, Marx called the epoch of social revolution. Each proto-revolutionary class developed consciousness of itself through economic and political struggles against the existing dominant class. The result would be the emergence of new relations of production and their accompanying ideological forms, and the eventual establishment of hegemony by the triumphant revolutionary class. Marx stressed that no social order ended until all scope for the development of its productive forces had been exhausted and the new relations of production had matured within its womb. although speculating on the possibility of peaceful transition in a few mature democratic states, Great Britain, United States, and he argued that the bulk of socialist revolutions would be violent. His theory was based upon the premise of revolutions occurring in highly industrialized states, whereas the experience of this century has been of revolution in semi and underdeveloped societies. Underdeveloped societies. Rather than viewing them as progressive and inevitable, many writers have sought to understand the roots of social instability and political violence in order to preempt revolutions. Functionalism, 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 depicted society as being in a state of permanent, self-regulating equilibrium and viewed revolutions as profoundly antisocial. While Chalmers Johnson, in Revolutionary Change, published in 1966, termed dysfunctional events which must be avoided. Political authority was legitimized by social consensus concerning political norms, and roles. So long as this consensus persisted, then governments could make necessary adjustments, even implementing quite radical reforms. A skillful government would be able to neutralize the impact of innovatory ideas, events, and processes known as accelerators. But a government which lost its political nerve would revert to coercion and might provoke revolution. Charles Tilly also expressed the importance of conflict management by elites, for example, in From Mobilization to Revolution, published in 1978. Could be an interesting read. Another approach has been to depict revolutions as social political crises produced by the dislocations of modernization. For Tocqueville, Tocqueville is in the surname, Tocqueville, Tocqueville, writing about the French Revolution of 1789. Revolutions occurred when previously encouraged expectation that things would continue to get better were dashed. Revolutions could be fed by both rising and deflated expectations in societies undergoing transition. A modern version of this argument is called the J-curve hypothesis. Imagine a letter J turned 135 degrees anti-clockwise. Interesting. For Samuel Huntington, Political Order in Changing Societies, published in 1968, could be a very interesting read. I know of Samuel P. Huntington's Clash of Civilization. Clash of Civilization, I know I've read it, but a few years ago, but this one I have not. Revolution was caused by the mobilization of new groups into politics at a speed which made it impossible for existing institutions to assimilate them. Revolution did not happen in established democratic systems because they had the capacity to broaden participation and incorporate counter-elites whilst maintaining political control. This model defined revolutions as characteristics of developing societies, with modernization emerging on an evolutionary sliding scale. Theda Skocpol, it's a surname, Skocpol, States and Social Revolutions, published in 1979, criticized earlier models for reductionism, although she herself focused upon only two main causes of the French, Russian, and Chinese revolutions: political crises and peasant rebellion. Her structural analysis centered on the decisive and autonomous role that state could play in mediating between groups. There was no underlying logic to revolutionary processes, but rather a complex unfolding of multiple conflicts based upon contradictions inherent in the old regime. Specific revolutions must be analyzed in depth before causal patterns could be identified. Skocpol, the surname Skocpol, gave little weight to human agency or revolutionary organization. Her somewhat ahistorical model also had little sense of great revolutions influencing each other or other movements. Interesting read in the Dictionary of Politiks, the third and final coffee with yours truly. Dragon Dictionary of Politiks. So once again, going to revise, resector the CIT, Debt Refusion Theory, and Democratic Fusion Theory, which are substantial for yours truly's implementation of the trinity of theories which have formulated over the past 7, 8, 9, 10 years or so. And that trinity of theories, of course, the CIT stands for Citizen Integration Theory, Debt Refusion Theory, the DRT stands for Debt Refusion Theory, and the Democratic Fusion Theory, the DFT, Democratic Fusion Theory. That trinity of theories, Debt Refusion Theory, CIT, and Democratic Fusion Theory. Debt refusion has to come first, and to be implemented, the trinity of theories to be implemented via four-letter holy, sacred, and divine word, LOVE. And love is also action. Love is also action. My allies and armies pledge your allegiance. Allegiance. The main message is with consent and hygiene, make love today. Tonight, make love. And with consent, hug like you never hugged before today. Otherwise, what are we fighting to save civilization for if somebody's not going to make LOV today? ICBM rockets on the verge of World War III. I do firmly believe that although I am mediocre, I admit that I'm mediocre at some things I'm average, at some things I'm so-so. I got some brain and some muscle. I firmly believe in my trinity of theories, which I've written over the past 7, 8, 9 or so, 10 years. I firmly believe in their implementation where we are at this point in time in order to create a two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions of the International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Force, aka the Dragon Army, to be in parallel in a complementary cooperative way with the International Integrated Dancing, aka the Dancing Goddess Army. Those two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions to be for pleasure and purpose, attain harmony between civilization and nature, and of course the Dragon Army to be for both security and service, to be for both security, service to be for both security and service, and both institutions and organizations, the Dancing Goddess Army, DGA, officially the International Integrated Dancing, with the International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Force, the Dragon Army, to be integrated with all existing public and private organizations and institutions, corporations, governments, and to implement my trinity of theories. First and foremost, DRT to create the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit, preferably by biometrics, the hand, the voice, and the eye are unique biometric identifiers. So Debt Refusion Theory, DRT, the Debt Refusion Theory, taking all private and public debt, converting it to US dollars, whatever the number is, to finance the global central bank, transnational banking institutions, and finance with that number, of course, and that number be the initial money supply, the debt refused. This is the debt refused to create the new financial institution, global central bank, to issue a transnational global unit of exchange, because money fundamentally is to buy and sell. Money is for buying and for selling, and of course, with that number, create the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions to attain harmony between civilization and nature, and of course to for pleasure and purpose, and to be integrated with all existing public and private institutions and organizations. That is my call to all willing living to support my dream, which is called the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom, what is fundamentally, in essence, generally and overall, a call to all to support for us to move towards a post-COVID economic, social, financial, philosophical, political, commercial, social, spiritual, psychological, and philosophical system for pleasure and purpose. Fundamentally, in essence, that is my Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom's dream, as yours truly, Adrian H. Born died during COVID. Nothing that I want to go back to pre-COVID, only want to go forward and break the impasses, break the impasse. I understand the established order of things, status quo, multi-millionaire athletes in the patriarchal sports leagues and corporations, CEOs, multi-millionaires and multi-billionaires and billionaires and XYZ. They wanted to rush back to COVID, past to how it was in the patriarchal sports leagues of the NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association. MLB. Please, my brothers, multi-millionaire athletes, give 10% of what y'all made during COVID for women's sports leagues and for food, because everybody gotta eat, even Wall Street. My call to all, of course, to Wall Street. Of course, if you make $1 million on the stock market today, give 10%. 10% of $1 million is 100,000. Buy, sell, trade stocks, futures, options, commodities, puts, options, put, stops, futures, commodities. That monkey business there. And give 10%. Kisses I got, so I'm founding the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom with 718 trillions of kisses. Those kisses were transformed by one kiss sent from the Queen of Heaven above heavens to her sister below, who dances with her brother the sun, to make and create all fruits, vegetables, and legumes that our brothers and sisters farmers harvest for us to make, upgrade, and maintain civilization. So I got kisses credited. That's first and foremost. I credit. I'm founding the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, my dream. From Hawk Island, Montreal, Mount Royal, that way, Montreal, the headquarters of the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, with kisses. Kisses got some brain and some muscles, some push-ups, some arts, lots of dancing, lots of dancing, lots of dancing with that. Lots of push-ups, billions of push-ups. As a matter of fact, the people's doctor, the independent fitness captain, and the people's athlete, and the people's artist, and the people's activist. Here's prescription for today: a good 1 hour walk, a good 1 hour march, a good 1 hour walk, a good stretch, and with consent, hug like you never hugged before, hug today. Whereas the plays in the NBA, National Basketball Association, NHL, National Hockey League is an hour, right? In NHL Hockey League, you got 3 quarters. Each quarter has 20 minutes. Football, correction, periods for hockey, 20 minutes, 3 periods, that's 60 minutes. Just like NFL's quarters, it's got 4 quarters and 15 minutes, that's an hour. So each period, like you play today, when I'm gonna work out, train, exercise, if you're watching me do with consent, just hug the whole time that you see me working out, training, and do some push-ups and squats in between. Here's Dr. Dragons to the prescription: 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 hawks. That's my medicine and therapy. Working out, training, and exercising, and please increasing hygiene in public. Support the dream in any way, capacity, shape, or form. Adrian Hanna, Dragon's Dream. Yeah, yours truly. Each died during COVID and being reborn. Adrian Hanna, Dragon, androgynous, pansexual, founder of the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom. Support the dream via LOVE. Love is action. Love is action. Love is action, not just blah blah blah. We're now live stream on Facebook, and it's